It's important to first understand three things related to QuickBooks Export. First, QuickBooks Export outputs a file that you can import into QuickBooks. It does not link directly to QuickBooks. Second, it outputs the data grouped by fund code, not by donor. Some organizations have used QuickBooks prior to coming to Denari to track donor activity. Denari's approach is different. You will use Denari to track donor activity and QuickBooks to track revenue and expenses. And third, your fund codes in Denari will closely relate to your accounts in QuickBooks. We'll see how that works in a few minutes. To use QuickBooks, you'll begin by setting up your fund codes. To do that, click the plus sign at the top and then click on Fund Codes. If you were creating a new fund code, you could click on Add New here, but we'll just select one from the list to demonstrate. You should be familiar with fund code setup by now. If not, take a few minutes to review the video on that topic. We'll move down the page to the Accounting Information section. Here we have three fields that are related to QuickBooks Export and also other accounting software exports that are available. The donations entered into Denari all have a fund code, and those fund codes must be parallel to your QuickBooks account. For example, you might have a general fund code in Denari and a general fund code in QuickBooks. Denari is going to produce a file that will summarize donations by fund code, and when imported, create entries in your QuickBooks accounts related to those fund codes. Here we have the GL field. This is where you'll put the general ledger account from QuickBooks. Across from that is the GL fund/class field. You will enter the class for this account in QuickBooks. For this to work, you must have classes turned on in QuickBooks and a class set up for each of your accounts. The class is required. The admin percentage field is optional. It can be used when you want a specific percentage of money raised for this fund code to go to a different account, usually your fund code account. Some organizations, for example, have a policy that says that any money raised by staff members will have, let's say 10%, pulled out and put into the general fund. If that's the case, simply put a 10 here. We'll see where that goes in a few minutes. Click Save and set up the rest of the funds that will be included in the import to QuickBooks in the same way. Now the import. For that, we'll click on the Reports button here on the left, then Exports, and finally QuickBooks. As you know, gifts are entered into Denari by batch number, and you'll do the import by batch as well. If you want to just do one batch, you can put that batch number in both the starting and ending fields, or you can do a range of batches at once. The starting and ending dates are the starting and ending dates of batches. Again, if you're only doing one batch, enter that batch's date in both fields. The expected amount is the total gift amount of all the batches that you will be importing, so you may need to add those up ahead of time and then put the total amount in that field. The deposit date is the date you want for the transaction in QuickBooks. The deposit account will be the account number for your cash account in QuickBooks. And lastly, we have the admin account fields. These are related to that admin percentage field back in the fund code setup. If you're using that percentage field, you will need to enter the QuickBooks account number here for those accounts in the admin account field and enter the class in the admin fund field. When you run the export, Denari will calculate the percentage for the funds you have indicated and create a separate transaction for the admin account. Now click the Export Data button here on the left, and Denari will put a file in your inbox. The file in your inbox will have a TXT extension. Newer versions of QuickBooks can import that file without any modification. Older versions require a file with an IIS extension. If that's your situation, you can download the file and then change the extension. QuickBooks will then import the file. When you click on the file in the inbox, you will get this window. The text here will give you instructions on how you can download the file to your computer. At that point, you can enter QuickBooks and import the file. This concludes this video on QuickBooks Export. As always, if you have any questions, please contact tech support through the help button at the top of the page.